Well, hey folks, it's your old pal, King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. Hit like and subscribe. I guess with increased views comes increased chances of seeing, the occasional negative comment. Uh, Not so much on YouTube, but I've actually gained an odd bit of traction over a tweet I made, which doesn't generally happen with me, but of just kind of like a snarky comment about the consent forms that was basically in response to someone else's snarky comment about consent forms and how people who don't want to use them and make fun of them are dangerous people and you shouldn't play with them. And so, I made a comment that was basically saying, if you persist and don't take no for an answer, you'll eventually force your players to agree to use the consent rules if you just stick to your guns. And that using guilt and social pressure is a great way to get an impressionable young person to give in and do what you demand of them. And apparently people haven't liked that. I notice, and I've gotten more likes on the initial comment than there's been likes on the few retorts there have been, and the retorts have been pretty fucking snoozing. I don't know how to tell you guys this, but I'm in my mid to early 40s. I went to high school and junior high and got made fun of a lot back in a time period before bullying was illegal. I just don't see what people think they're gonna get that much of a rise out of me and really ruin my day with some 5-word sting on Twitter or YouTube. I tend to notice that the little pushback I generally see on the internet tends to come in the form of just confrontational, a little oh yeah, well you suck, worded in all sorts of different ways, but it all boils down to just that kind of sentiment. Well, oh yeah, well you suck, which doesn't actually refute anything I say. I don't know that I mean. One of the comments I just saw on Twitter that made me think of doing this was just you should admit that the thing you said was comparing it to non-consensual force. You can at least own it. And I'm do you not realize, did I not know what I was saying? The whole fucking point of the post was to compare it to non-consensual force. So, no fucking shit. Congratulations, you win the booby prize. You are now king of the internet. I bow before your genius. I mean, I don't know. I don't mind arguments, but I want arguments that, add something, actually try to, whittle away my logic. Present me, some thoughtful thing to present your point and what I might be getting wrong about it. I have an open mind, and I'm not closed-minded to new facts and all that other kind of shit. Blah 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 blah. Ad infinitum. Please, by all means, leave me shit like that. I generally find people who leave longer, thoughtful comments who think they're disagreeing with me. I'm reading it and it's I don't think that we're so much disagreeing. I think you're not catching sometimes when I'm saying something sarcastically or ironically, and you're taking it as being a literal statement of what I actually believe. There are things such as thought experiments where you're just trying to work something out loud. And there's also such a thing as being a devil's advocate. Since this is, a channel that's focused on role-playing games and role-playing game topics, and as a dungeon master, I have more to say and offer to other dungeon masters than I do necessarily to players, beyond just a few guidelines of what dungeon masters would like out of them or what would be helpful to us. Dungeon masters need to be people who can examine various situations and problems from multiple points of view so they can understand how all these NPCs were expected to constantly keep track of in our heads, while also monitoring what everyone's telling us that the players are doing and making sure we're keeping track of what their characters are actually capable of, because they're prone to forgetting their own character stats in the moment. On top of that, we should also be juggling, every little instance of, oh my god, are my players going to be worried if they see a spider? Oh my god, this module that was written 40 years ago says they have to go through a tunnel that's only 4 feet wide, and oh my God, like, what if they're just like Storm from the X-Men, and anytime they're in a tight little tunnel, they're just gonna start screaming and shooting out electricity and I mean, so much of this hand wringing is like all on behalf of hypothetical people. Like most of the complaints are coming not from anyone who's actually been like bothered by any of this stuff happening. This is all just like in reaction to something that people are imagining could maybe happen under the worst possible of circumstances. This could happen, so we better stop everything, make sure everyone fills out their fucking paperwork and get certified. How about, if we're going to be having consent forms and stuff, why don't we just go ahead and then, like, get like a QR code that we can tattoo on our wrists? And so when we meet up to play a role-playing game, your players and everyone can just get out their cell phones and scan everyone's tattoo on their wrist. You can include it in your vaccine passport, maybe. Could you please at least, like, give me something to chew on and argue with? Like, I get bored of just kind of coming up with sarcastic remarks on these things. Like, how many different ways can I rephrase a sarcastic, oh, well, thanks for bringing this to my attention? I only end off half my videos telling people to call me a bad person or call me a loser and all that kind of stuff. So calling me a loser on Twitter or in my comments, man, that stings. Oh, I've been hoist upon your petard, sir. Ah, your swordsmanship, that keen, slicing, cutting, scathing wit has got me now. You caught me. Oh my God, I'm a dork. I literally got called a dork. Like, what the fuck kind of fucking junior high shit is that? Like, I do have to consider, is this person saying this just a fucking moron kid? And it's, like, we live in post-Bazinga times, guys. Is being called a nerd or a dork or a geek or goofy, like, any at all, like some sort of insult nowadays? Are you, is that admission that a lot of the nerd shit from some people is fake, perhaps? I thought we weren't supposed to propose that. It's not maybe just that girls can be fake nerds. Maybe there's a lot of fake guy nerds, too. I do notice that kind of in the post-Marvel era, because of the popularity of the Marvel movies, that like a lot of people who back in the day didn't have the patience to really dig into any of this shit now kind of posture as if they're nerds because they've seen a couple of fucking Marvel movies. But, like a real nerd knows other real nerds, and I have run into people who are kind of posturing as nerds because it's kind of in vogue right now. But that will eventually pass, and is possibly passing as we speak, since people are starting to throw that kind of shit around as an insult. Like, having been a person who was a bit of a social pariah and weirdo and stuff when I was young, I did put up with, like, a lot of bullying and being picked on. And I am man enough to own up to the fact that not all of it was undeserved. I was, as a child, like, very cocky and proud of, like, my intelligence and, like, how much people were always patting me on my head for being so intelligent and shit, and always being the first person to raise their hand in class. And generally just, calling other people stupid for liking football and stuff like that. I was an asshole. So in many ways, like, I as an adult can look back and see that I certainly egged a lot of that kind of shit on. But at the same time, I certainly wasn't the person, like, trying to physically assault people or, like, hurling shit, like, personal insults at people in anger and kind of stuff. Because that, I'm speaking in kind of a general sarcastic, rhetorical way on Twitter, and I'm now getting like these blind attempts to personally attack me from people who have no idea who I am. So, like, it doesn't add anything. None of this stuff is actually like a refutation. It doesn't change my mind. It doesn't even reinforce me in any way. It's just little tiny squeaky creatures in the ground going squeak, squeak, squeak. It's like hearing, I'm like, oh my God, there's a bunch of chihuahuas barking at me. What am I going to do? They're barking at me. Once again, central message here in all this, we all need to grow the fuck up and chill the fuck out. Because, it's one thing to, like, have a youthful, imaginative, fun children's hobby as your hobby as an adult. It's another thing to continue to act like fucking children. And this is supposed to be a hobby for intelligent, creative, imaginative, empathetic people. And so, like, maybe we should all be acting that way a bit more. So I'll leave it at that. Stay waspinated. Leave comments below. Support the channel on DriveThruRPG by buying something that looks cool to you. Maybe I'll do a video later about one of my own games again. And stop talking about all this political nonsense. Who knows? I did go to college for political science, so it's only inevitable. I am, after all, the person who introduced all these political angles and arguments into the hobby, so it's perfectly just to yell at me and make comments about how I'm just going on another political rant and I'm not talking enough about Mech Warrior, Oblivion, or wherever the fuck it's called. Anyway, you have a good one, and we'll see you next time.